good number of people in my outfit. We had 10 on our gun battery, and we had, two officers. One officer took care of the trucks, make sure they were ready to go for us, and the other officer was assigned to our battery, and he was a 30-day officer. Came out of officer training. After we set up our gun in Geilenkirchen, it was muddy. You couldn't believe. When you talk about California today having that flood, we had a flood that evening too, and we were ankle deep in mud and water. So anyway, the first lieutenant or second lieutenant, I forgot, it could have been second lieutenant Lazarus, told us to put all the shells down about 100 yards to our left. And our gun was over here. We had 4 guns lined up. So we get a fire mission, our first one in Germany, Geilenkirchen. And so we have no shells there. So the officer says, well, you got to go down here and bring the shells back. Well, which didn't make much sense. So we carried a shell on each shoulder, and approximately 96 pounds for each shell. So we put those shells back right behind the carriage of our 155, and the 155 had what we call a split carriage, where you would have to separate the carriage, and then you would have to dig it in so it wouldn't vibrate too much after we had a firing mission. We actually loaded the ammunition behind the guns. I'd say probably 4 or 5 yards behind the guns, but we didn't particularly care because the ammunition didn't have on the front the part that made it explode. I mean that was so the ammunition had a what they call hooks on them, and that's how they were loaded aboard ships and brought to our place. So our job was to unscrew the hooks and put on the fuse and work from there. But we had probably 20 rounds sitting there, and there were times during our missions where we didn't have ammunition. We were looking for it. We didn't have it. The quartermaster couldn't deliver us because it wasn't available. It didn't get to us. So our firing missions sometimes were just sporadic. Maybe what we would call just fire mission of 1 round, just to let them know we're over on this side over here. So anyway, once we got the shells back there, we had a fire mission, and had shell HE, high explosive. Then it said fuse quick, and that was my job. I used to fuse them, the shells. They were approximately 6 to 8 inches long, and I had a wrench to set the time on, so fuse quick. And then in addition to that, they say a charge 5 or charge 6 or charge 7. Charge 7 is used for maximum range, but most of our charges were probably charge 5. So we used a charge 5, and we had a fire mission, I believe, 3 rounds. So by that time, the Germans had figured out where we were firing from. A little later on, that gave us a counter battery, and the Germans had their very powerful and very effective 88 millimeter, and we could hear it coming over. I mean, we knew right away that it was an 88, so we would take refuge, we would hide. We had dugouts built and so on. One particular day, a couple of days later, I forgot what day we started there, but we went to church services, and that was in front of our guns, and we were there, 3 or 4 of us, the Catholic boys, went church services, and on the way back, the Germans had spotted us, so they get a fire mission on us. And that's when we lost 3 of our men. They were in the first gun, and we were in the third gun, and there's the fourth gun over here. The first gun caught it. I mean, they got 3 of our soldiers were killed in action. That was first combat mission. And then after that, we took over the city, Geilenkirchen, and other small villages along the way. But that was our first experience with combat